All right, welcome back. So this will be a short introductory videos of theories and models in economics, just for us to gain some conceptual idea of what we will learn in the next few months. Let's go. So there's a saying that theory is not the truth, but supposed to be heavily wrong. And why wrong? Wrong because it's not the reality, but always a simplified version of reality. Um, we could think about if we want to draw a map of a certain area to explain the connection between different parts of that area, for example, villages, rivers, mountains, forests, and fields, and so, and how to get from one place to the other in that area. So now this map, like many other map that you have seen, is a very simplified version of the area. So they're wrong. First of all, because we rescaled everything to the size of a paper so that we can get an overview of the whole area, right? The second thing is, while drawing it, we will also leave out many unnecessary details that don't contribute to the objective of explaining the connection and predicting the direction. For example, I think we don't have every tree with branches, we don't have cloud on the sky or bunnies hopping on the grass, and don't even have the real height of the hills, and so. Because I mean they are too detailed, and they would make it even difficult to read the map, right? And because of that, we can see that the map is a wrong model of the area, but it helped explaining the connection, it helped achieving our objective. Um, so from that, we can see that the key here is not to judge if the models is true or not, because it can always be very easily pointed out that it's wrong. But if it's helpful, then the theory or the models is good. And actually, the same thing applied for economic theories. For example, in general, it will be very hard or not possible at all to determine if firm is maximizing its profit or not, simply because we don't know the production function of the firm, which is normally highly confidential. However, according to the theories, we know that if a firm is maximizing its profit, then when price increases, it will respond by increasing the production quantity, right? We will see later. And if this prediction is validated or verified by empirical data, then it's evidence that the theories is helpful or valid. So this is mostly agreed among economists that the validity of the theory depends on their ability to predict the real world event. And the ultimate test of the theories is to confront it with the real world data. Now let's have a look at some features of economic models. The first one, the famous ceteris paribus assumption. So I'm sure it's very familiar to most of you here. So there's always in the models some variables not considered explicitly. However, that's not because we treated them irrelevant. It's just because we assume that they remain constant for a period of time for the sake of analysis or exposition. Um, that's the first thing to keep in mind. The second thing is we should not take that for granted that it holds in reality, because in economics, very different from other natural science subject, quite often we don't have the luxury of an experimental setup in which we can really control those variables. And so we have to assume that they stay constant. But in reality, data of the real world normally make those variables vary a lot. Um, so that we would have to remember. The second assumption is the optimization assumption. As you will see in this course later, we have like consumer wants to maximize their utility, firms want to maximize their profit, and so. But why is that the case that is used so often? There's two reasons. The first one is because this assumption of very nice, elegant, and tractable models, um, and they are widely available for usage. The second thing is just consistent with what we just said before, is proven or it generated a lot of successful models in predicting the real world economic events, and that's the feature of a good model, right? So a typical example is the use of profit maximization to determine the production quantity output. The last feature that we discussed today is quite often, even though it's not always possible, that as economists, we would like to make a clear distinction between positive and normative economics. So what are they? Positive economic focus on the questions, what is that? Why is that? So it actually deals with explaining the phenomena and predicting the behaviors. And so, in contrast, normative economics asks the question, what should it be? So we could think about the business consultancy or policy consultancy who give advices to policymakers and firms about what is the best to do to maximize a certain economic outcomes. And so in this course, actually, we mainly deal with positive economics. So we explaining the phenomena, or we try to make prediction about the behavior of firms, of consumers. However, here and there, we will also try to find the connection of or the application of those theories to normative economics, to see, for example, what's the best for an economic agent to do in a strategic behavior set up so that they maximize their payoff. Nice. Now you already get your first reading assignment, because that is it for conceptual part, and in the next lecture we will go into mathematical tools for economics, like I said earlier. So please read chapter 1 and chapter 2 of Snyder-Nicholson, except some parts here like inequality, constraints, integrals, dynamic optimization, and statistic that we don't need yet. And I also put on eCampus an optional reading part, in which the author described some properties of good economic models, I think it's very nice, easy reading, and short paper, which I would really recommend you to read in case you're interested in this concept. That's it. Mm, I see you in the lecture for mathematics for economics, and also in our first Zoom meeting next week. Okay, bye.